Hello, and again, welcome to Bit Depth. I'm Santiago Ramones. Across from me is
Austin Scott,
otherwise known as
King Scott, otherwise known as Slick Vic, aka the World Monarch, aka a bunch of other silly shit.
Austin Powers.
Yeah, the real Austin Powers by some.
I'm really excited to have you. I love the stuff that you're doing, and so who are you? What do you do?
King Scott, co-founder of the Digital Cowboys, with my friend DJ Zay, Isaiah Franks. Shout out to my guy. But yeah, basically just been DJing since we were freshmen at UCO. Started doing just like college parties and stuff. Use that to kind of push us to like grow creatively and in business, and co-founded a company in 2018. The main thing we've been doing is just collaborating with other people who want to like throw parties or do virtual events or, hosted mixtapes or hosted remixes and stuff like that. We're just trying to stay active with the community and engaged. But the main thing I would say is DJing parties. Like Isaiah, myself, we just try to knock it out the park every time.
Yeah. And is that what Digital Cowboys is?
Yeah, I mean, so we picked the name Digital Cowboys, really like kind of inspired from a trip to Dallas, Texas, where we were actually watching a Rico Nasty and Key concert. I want to say it was 2017 when we actually like came up with a name for it, and we were just like really inspired by the concert for a lot of weird reasons. Some of it was like based on like just the crowd response to some of the local talent versus like talent we thought was bigger. And excuse me, I had to burp a little bit. But yeah, the name Digital Cowboys kind of also came from just like the Pioneer decks we were using. We were just like Pioneer, Cowboy, Digital. We were just trying to put cool stuff together. But yeah, Digital Cowboys came from that. But yeah, that's really what we're about, is just trying to like really bring new sounds to the space, or just like our unique perspective on, some of the things we listen to and some of the things that like get us excited in a party setting. So we're very grateful to like a lot of the people who we've collaborated with to do community stuff as well. That's one thing that I would say over the past few years we've gotten like a little bit better at and a little more organized with, just because of who we've been able to collaborate. People like my guy Tyler Traxler with Within Without, Julius, Lane, Chris, everybody at Chateau Casa House. Anytime we do like live events, a lot of times there will be either partial or full donation of the proceeds to organizations like Sisu Youth, who help out homeless LGBTQ youth. And I feel like that's something I'm really grateful that they've let me, share in as an ally. Yeah. That's really cool to like support the community out here. There's not a lot of ways direct action can be applied when we're all sort of stuck in the consumption mindset. Yeah. And I like that we can like have fun and have a party and then like, give back. So that's one thing I've seen kind of adapt over the time with Digital Cowboys, is just like community involvement for sure.
Hell yeah. What, this is just like random, but like what were you majoring in at UCO?
This is kind of random, but this is good. So at first I want to say it was international business, I remember. And then it was marketing. And then I was academically suspended, and then I came back, and I think it was still marketing when I came back, and then I dropped. But literally I just
college is bullshit.
Yes, college is definitely bullshit. I want to say that for the record. Like, college is a scam. If you're paying for college, you're not good at YouTube. I'm sorry. Right. But this is also me talking. This is self-talk to me as well. So don't think that I'm like, right. But yeah, so like the main reason though that, the suspension and then the dropping is just like, it's difficult to show up to class when you have beats you want to finish. Sure. Like, it just is. At least for me specifically, go to class if class stuff is what you're good at and what you want to do with your life. But I had to keep making beats. I had to get better.
Yeah. And I mean, we've sort of lost the whole point of like school at some point down the line, and it's like, oh, I'm passionate about this thing, I want to learn about it. And it's like, so if you're passionate about making beats, then you gotta like keep making beats.
Exactly. So yeah, I feel like honestly some of the more communal aspects of school kind of led me into actually following my passions, but the specific like academia part, and it's, again, that's the thing too. The reason why I think school is a scam is not because I think like, oh, bettering yourself and trying to get smarter is bad. Right. It's because you are dumping most of your material value from a monetary standpoint into something that's going to put you into debt for longer. Yeah, forever. And also like the piece of paper isn't going to do what you think the piece of paper does. Like even after getting pieces of paper, I got my certificate for digital cinema production over at OCCC, and like I'm still out here like looking for stuff to do. I'm looking for work. But that's my main thing with it. Just like it's very clearly part of this large capitalist US Ponzi scheme that, you know, interacts with you on all levels of your life. So
right, yeah. Yeah. I have 3 of them. So
exactly. We're speaking with a degreed man here, so I'm not just shouting at nothing.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, like, I went through it, and I'm still like, you know, if you want to go to college, like,
do it and get a cool scholarship from someone who cares about you.
Or yeah, right. Or like maybe talk to someone who does have that degree and is like, hey, you know, what'd you do in college? Like, what were you reading? What were you looking at? And, you know, you could basically get a college degree without the piece of paper. And unfortunately, the like employers are looking for the piece of paper. Yeah. But like at some point, once you do enough shit, like people are gonna see that, oh, I don't care if this person has a degree. They're doing shit. They're doing the shit that like the whole point of going to college was for. Sure. So, I mean, you can either go to school for the thing or just make the thing.
Yeah.
You're making the thing.
I appreciate that. I'm trying to make the thing. I think that point specifically, though, about just like the network of college, the people who are there at the college. I've been really blessed, like, to meet people who are like adjacent to like ACM or just like other like profitable things that are going on in the city, and from an art perspective, without actually having to like fully sow all my resources into that. And so I'm grateful for that for sure, because they've given me a lot of insight. Specifically my bro Griff, like he's put me on to so much shit. Like I couldn't even tell you what's it called? A++ wouldn't have sounded as good without some of the insight Griff gave me. So I definitely, you know, try to show back that support that people have given me, because I think that's the key to it. Like finding ways to like help each other outside these systems, because these systems were just like meant to give people who don't really create the art like access to like, you know, profit off of the youth as they're developing their talent. And then but then they wonder why.
Right. Yeah.
I have like a whole thing. I'm sorry. We might get into it. We might not.
Yeah, we probably will. Film stuff. We're talking about a little bit of the music stuff. Let's talk about a little bit of the film stuff.
One thing I want to say, like I had some really good peers within the OCCC like film community, specifically like people I worked with in the equipment room, people I worked with in the editing lab, my professors. I felt like I had a lot of support and I learned a lot. So far as like on set things, my main thing right now, because I've been making beats and music for so long, I really want to get into like scoring on a level pretty soon. I haven't necessarily fully tapped into that. I've done a little bit of like student project stuff, but I'm trying to get into scoring. But I had the opportunity to work on a set over I think it was the summertime, 2020, I think. 2020, I got to work on this television film that came out on Lifetime called Tracking a Killer. My guys Griff and Cash both worked on that as well, and a lot of other really cool, talented people in state and out of state. So I'm grateful I got that experience. I was only on set for a couple of days because I was just helping Griff with some lav mics. I was just like assisting him. So I'm grateful I had a solid just team of people. But that was a nice experience, just like sort of like really experiencing it after like having all the sort of simulations in school and all the like labs and things like that. I think it was a really nice experience. I think like in the future, I'm not, this is going to be on a public platform, so I'm trying to sound professional. I'm not like opposed to doing on-set stuff, but I really have been spending time trying to get more into post-production stuff, you know, sound effects, Foley, ADR, all that type of stuff, and scoring really, just because I've been composing music for a minute now. So I definitely want to start transferring skills that I've been like developing for a while, like actually into the medium on a professional level. But yeah, those are definitely the main focuses from the film perspective. I did sort of a music video for an NFT that I dropped. That's like another sort of like tangent thing. I just felt like it related to film because it was a video. But my friend Brandon Ross, who has helped me on a lot of stuff, helped me shoot that along with my friend Wyatt Knapp. And that was a really cool experience. Just like, not even because it was like, we didn't shoot it with the coolest or craziest cameras, but I was just like, okay, let me actually take time to like build out shots. Let me take time to like see what the landscape of something is and like plan out steps and the editing process too. So I was like an assistant in the editing lab at OCCC. So I was a student employee, tutoring some of the editing students who would come in, and then like helping them finish their projects and things like that. But yeah, editing is something I've been doing for a minute too, because oh my gosh, I feel like I'm just like rambling on.
No,
like,
you're good. But these are all the things that you do. I'm asking about you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm just like trying to calm down and like slowly get to each thing, you know, in a way that makes sense. Cause now I'm like jumping through different timelines. So like before I even like went to OCCC, like if this was actually during academic suspension that first time at UCO, I was helping my father with this website he has called culturosity.com. And basically what he was just trying to do was shed some light on some of the events that were happening in the artistic community locally. We did a lot of stuff with like dope poetry at Ice Event Center and some other people who just had like different events or like small businesses in the area, just like highlighting that. And I spent a lot of time like filming different content for that and filming interviews. And that, like, before, I didn't even really like want to be doing that, to be honest. Like it was like kind of a thing that I was pushed into doing, but it was something that I enjoyed doing like while I was doing it, you know what I'm saying? And it gave me a skill set that is valuable to me now. One of my mentors actually, Jay Wiggins, shout out to him. He's a photographer and a filmmaker in Oklahoma City. That's my OG. I appreciate him. He like showed me a lot just about like how to set up an interview, like camera angles, like different stuff with photography specifically. So I want to shout out Jay Wiggins specifically when I'm on any sort of public platform talking about film. But yeah, that's film. That's me and film. Sorry for the like weird time travel back to like 2017 and then back to 2020 and then all this other stuff.
But I mean, yeah, again, it's all the stuff that you're doing and how you get there. And here's a little bit more about like how you got there. At what point did you know, like, man, I got to keep making music. I got to keep making beats. Like when did it just like grab you and never let go?
That's a good question. I don't know. I felt like it was pretty early on because like my initial even reason for making beats was just to like work through some emotions, some kind of petty emotions, sure, but like definitely something I was going through at the time, and I was like, okay, this is like a really good way to express myself, and I like putting it out, and I like getting feedback, and even if everybody doesn't like it, like it makes me feel good. I think the main thing was it just kept being satisfying to me personally, and I was just like, okay, people, you know, can create careers doing this, so I should just like keep going, and until I'm like forced to stop, then like I'll stop possibly if they can stop me. Right. I doubt it, but yeah, I think it was pretty early on, man. That's the thing too. So I have a little bit of like, prior to the whole like college beat making experience, I have like a little bit of musical experience just because I did band in like 6th and 7th grade. I was in percussion. And so I have a decent sense of like rhythm and stuff like that. I'm not necessarily a trained musician on the other fronts, but I can program some beats. That's definitely something I could do. Yeah. And I'm confident in that. I think though, as far as like when it hooked me and like felt like I had to just keep doing it, it was pretty early on, just because having an outlet to feel like you can safely express the things that you're feeling emotionally is very powerful. And I think, I want that feeling for everyone. Yeah.
Have you gone back and listened to some of that early stuff and been like, damn, like in a good or bad way? It's like, shit, like this is so bad, or whatever.
The other day I actually did this with like, I have this beat called Pressed Adult Swim. It's on SoundCloud now. I don't know how many plays it has. It doesn't really matter. But I put like, I made like an AMV with it, like an anime music video. Yeah. And, the visuals I used were from Garden of Words. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but it's an anime film directed by Makoto Shinkai, and it's very beautiful, and it's kind of sad, and it's a weird like sort of romance story, but the way I cut it, I kind of tell the whole story of the film, but not really. I like leave some important parts out, but regardless, like. It was one time where I got to like play with like film timing. Yeah. And also like the origin of the beat itself for me came from an emotional place. And I was just like, man, it's interesting to like be so far removed from that and just be like able to look at this as like music and be like, this is pretty good. Like, cool. So I was kind of pleasantly, I think not often because I don't look back that much, but when I do look back very often, I'm like, okay, this is either pretty good or like, I see where I was going with it. Yeah, yeah. So that's one thing I'm grateful for. Like, it seems like I'm building, I feel like I'm building a sound. I feel like I'm building like some sort of story arc over the course of the entire thing. And that's really what I want.
Yeah. Let's talk influences. Like what were you inspired by, both like musically, but also, media wise? Talk about anime. I always see you wearing your Evangelion hoodie, and I'm like, damn, got to talk to this dude. You can talk Evangelion.
For sure. For sure. Influences are great, man. Influences are all we have. I'm like looking in your studio right now, like Spider-Man. Spider-Man alone, like when I was a young child, was easily my favorite superhero. Yeah. So I definitely appreciate that. But like, okay, so references, let's go. Okay, so we're going to get into like some deeper stuff at some point, but I want to say like a lot of the art references come from getting into more like being having the freedom to explore more secular music as I got older. And so I'm interested to like talk about sort of how that comes about. But I would say like The Weeknd, I would say Lil Wayne, I would say Drake, right? I would also say James Blake. I would say FKA Twigs. I would say obviously Travis Scott. I would say obviously Kid Cudi. And again, these are like a lot of vocalists. I'm not even talking about producers yet. I'm just talking like people who are the face of things. Let me think. There's so many people. That's the thing too. If I don't literally have my phone in front of me, one thing I'm scared of is that we're all going to get older and realize we don't actually know anything, and we're going to like lose our phone one day. And
we're already cyborgs.
Yeah, we are literally already cyborgs. But like I consume a lot of music. Like I'm just going to go through. Tyler, the Creator, is a huge influence on me. I'm not even going to cap about that.
Right. Well, I was even thinking like how Digital Cowboys having like the community aspect of it reminds me of Odd Future a little bit.
For sure. Odd Future was so influential to me. I can't even lie, man. Like Odd Future, I have like many shout outs about my Odd Future life. So that is going to come later too. A lot of stuff's going to come later, I guess. I feel like looking through my most recently listened to music isn't going to help with my influences. So I'm going to put my phone back down.
You're good.
let me think. Who are my influences? Okay, well, definitely from like a production standpoint, I would then again still say like James Blake. I would say 40, one of Drake's main producers. I would say people like Monte Booker. I would say people like J. Rob, Sam Gellatry. That's in my SoundCloud kind of bag. That's the thing too. I was like really in my high school sort of transition in between that little like I was doing band and college. I'm making beats. In high school, I was like listening to a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And SoundCloud was like the wave. I felt like, especially like from like 10th grade, from like 11th grade forward for me. And I graduated 2015 for context. Did I say Timbaland?
You didn't say Timbaland, but I mean, that's
Timbaland
another
for
big
sure,
one.
man. Timbaland's insane.
His Neptune's in the wheelhouse.
Neptune's for sure. Are you kidding me? Pharrell, Chad, are you kidding me? Of course. Of course. You know, Pusha T, Clips. Definitely Kanye West, even though I'm going to say now that I don't support a lot of the things Kanye has done in the later part of his career, but shout out to Kanye on some level.
We'll get to a question about Kanye.
Yeah. This seems like the podcast where people would get to the question about Kanye. Let me see. I don't like how long it's taking me to pull up all my references because I want to show respect to everybody who like came before me, who I like really listened to and like who really molded like how I like to create music. I'm like certain there's so many people. My gosh.
It's all good. But I mean, like we got a good idea of what's in there. Yeah. So I guess let's get into what's like a deep nitty gritty thing. And I guess, what DAW are you using?
Logic Pro.
Okay. Yeah. What's like a deep nitty gritty or like advanced thing that you're like proud of, or that like is kind of a signature for you? And like,
you know what? I'm going to answer your question, but I'm going to kind of not answer your question because it's not necessarily a signature thing for me. Okay, so I just figured out two things. So I'm going to kind of answer your question, and then I'm going to kind of not answer your question. So one thing that I would say that I've done up to this point that I think like, at least for me, is emblematic of like a few projects and how I like to compose things. I like to like either for the beginning part or the second part of the song, like it fully be like the same thing, but just slowed down. I like to have people have the experience of experiencing however it was originally like meant to be, and then just like really a lot slower. You can pick out all the individual details. It's usually pitched down a little bit as well, just because, and that's also like a little bit of Texas influence, like, like chopped and screwed music and stuff like that I came up listening to. So definitely like just tempo changes and pitch changes are like very synonymous with a lot of the stuff I've done. And then, but the other thing I was going to say was like lately I've been like trying to mess with like bit crushers and just like using that to fill space a little bit and make it feel a little more comfortable, a little more warm. And so that's been one thing I've been experimenting with on some unreleased stuff that a couple of my friends have heard. But yeah, I would say that's probably like the main nitty gritty stuff. I'm again like, I feel like I've been doing it for a few years, but I'm still very much in the beginning phases of fully understanding like engineering specifically. And that's what I'll say. I think I can compose. I think I can arrange things, but like engineering, I'm still trying to figure out how some of y'all do some of the stuff that you do. Right. And I will figure it out. It's the last thing I do.
Right. So then going to like kind of more like philosophical musical questions, is there such a thing as bad music?
That's a good question. I mean, everything's subjective. I think for sure there's stuff that I would listen to and just be like, this is trash. But like, excuse me. But I'm also like not the type of person to like say that directly to whoever. I'm not a online person who's like, oh, this sucks. Like, oh, this is like. Although if I felt like, well, no, not even. No, even if like an artist I really liked put out something that I just wasn't feeling, I probably would keep my opinion to myself and not to say that everyone has to do that. I'm not saying this like this is law. I'm just saying This is how I operate. Like, I don't know, the whole idea of like bad music. Yeah, it's subjective. There's music I don't like. There's music other people don't like. I'm sure there's stuff that I've done. In fact, I know that there's stuff that I have done that I thought was really cool that other people thought was just like not good at all. And so that's totally fine. And everyone is fully entitled to their opinion. And I actually appreciate that we all have different perspectives.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And now kind of the Kanye question. Do you separate art from the artist?
That's a really good question. I feel like the best way to contextualize those types of questions are for yourself. Like, in your own art, do you separate yourself from it? Do you separate who you are as a person from the ways that you express yourself? I think that there kind of has to be some sort of separation as an individual from it because, you know, at least for me, art's inspired by a moment. Or a feeling, something that I've actually experienced or a scenario that I'm creating, but somewhere rooted in like a real feeling for me. And I don't think it'd be very healthy if I just like dwelled on every single feeling behind every beat every time I heard it. Yeah. It's difficult to sometimes because you hear it and you're like, that reminds me of that moment. But, you know, particularly how that relates to like the art from the artist thing is just like, they're saying something in a moment and it was recorded like we are right now. You know, that's not to say that people aren't responsible for what they put out and how they put it out, but we're all living in a moment. Yeah. Music is kind of an illusion because it's magic and you're feeling a moment. You're feeling several fabricated moments recorded at different times, put together, edited and packaged. My main point with that is people can change and people can have different perspectives on something or grow and may not necessarily co-sign everything that was behind the art. But that, again, I don't want to say that because if we're talking about in the context of Kanye specifically, I don't want to say that as like a scapegoat for some of the like wilder things that Kanye has done. I want to say that as like a human empathy thing for us all, like individually who choose to create or choose to like intake creations, just like understanding that, you know, even though it comes from genuine, real feelings that a person felt in a moment, it is also hopefully a very well packaged fabrication, and it is literally magic. So I think we do well to keep that in mind. But I almost feel like I didn't answer the question though, because like I also am like, you are what you do. You know what I'm saying? You are what you do. You can say that you're a good person. You can like put on airs of being like, and it's not even about, again, a good person. We went into direct morality and I can't tell you if you're a good person. You'd have to survive your own life. You have challenges you have to overcome. You have to get it out the mud sometimes. Yeah. I'm going to say, though, specifically to directly answer your question, I do separate the art from the artist, but that doesn't absolve people of responsibility, especially like in a public eye or just like their responsibility to whoever they feel responsible to. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And again, the question always comes up in the context of Kanye, because Kanye isn't so much like, he's not like freaking Bill Cosby or anything. Like he didn't, you know, he hasn't assaulted people and like created awful trauma. He's just an asshole.
Exactly.
And it's like,
but that's why it's good to use him in the context of the conversation, because there is at least somewhere there has to be some type of gray area, literally because of that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not that extreme. It's a lot of performance shit. It's a lot of vocal things that you're saying. It's not direct harm to a lot of people. So, we have the space to sit here and talk about it because it's that way. Yeah.
But I mean, so I guess, and the other reason for that question is like, you had kind of mentioned that like, you're not feeling Kanye as much. Is it because of the things that he said, or is it just because like, you know, he's kind of gone off the deep end, you don't really like his music anymore?
I would say that some of the things that he's done have like, and again, people don't have to live their lives this way, but it's like actually stopped me from even like attempting to listen to the music. Like to the moment that we're recording this podcast right now, I haven't heard a moment of Kids See Ghosts other than maybe like a Twitter clip or something. The other day, my friend made me listen to On God because Pierre Bourne produced it, and I'm a huge Pierre Bourne fan. Pierre Bourne is a big influence on me as well. That's someone that I definitely need to vocally say is an influence. Pierre Bourne, shout out to Pierre Bourne. But what's it called? Yeah, so I listened to that track, and that was pretty cool. Like, that's the thing too. I bet some of the Kanye art that has come out, like, I would like it, but that's also part of the reason why I'm like, okay, I feel like as a fan, I care about him, and I would like, you know, things in his life to go well, but I also don't know what things going well in his life are. I know he's getting divorced right now, but some people, including myself, might think divorce is cool. Yeah. Some people might think that, you know, you gotta do what's best for like actually raising a family. And if you're fighting all the time, that's not helpful. So I don't know. There's different ways to look at everything. There's in fact an entire demographic who probably thinks a lot of what he's doing isn't wild at all. So
yeah,
you know.
Last couple of questions on this front. What's something people don't normally know about you?
Don't normally know about me. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm that well known. I could just say like any random thing about my life. My middle name is Victor.
Cool.
I'll say that. That gives me confidence. That makes me feel like in most situations, if I put my mind to it, I can win.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And then last one, what advice do you have for people that want to do what you're doing? Start making beats, start DJing stuff, start doing film stuff even. What advice you got?
I would say, and this is kind of messed up because I'm doing, well, okay, so I'm going to answer your question and do like triple cross promotion. Watch this. Right. So I'm going to say the same thing that I said on Circle Lotus Media,
there
which
you go.
Santiago's going to be on very soon. But just literally just try. Like if you feel like it could be something that does something for you or provides value to your life or makes you feel something, like just try it. Just give it a shot. You know, if you're not happy with how it sounds or how it feels to do it, or, you know, the things that you have available to you, just like keep pushing through it if you want it that badly. And I say if you want it that badly, not to say like I've achieved a thing that you have to like push so hard to get through, but just like perseverance over time in the face of capitalist obstacles is definitely something I try to take a moment sometimes to just like appreciate that I've been able to do. And I want that for everybody. I want us to be able to feel fulfilled in what we spend our time doing. So like, if that's something that you think could fulfill how you spend your time, definitely just give it a shot. Like you never know what could come of it. You can make something that inspires you or changes your whole life. So go for it.
Hell yeah. Switching gears into the deep questions.
Deep questions.
What is the role of spirituality or religion in your life?
This is a very good question. So I would say when I was younger, like from birth till probably like 15, 16, I like came up in the Christian church. Yeah. A few different denominations that I probably like don't really remember, but like, and that sentence there is probably emblematic of like how I feel about it. Just like I was brought there because it was a family thing, and you know, at one point even my dad was like a pastor, which is crazy to me because he's like a theater actor now, and I'm like, that's the same thing. And he's really good, and he was great as a pastor, and he's a great actor, I feel like. And but yeah, I think for me personally, it's not religion specifically is not something that I connect to. I definitely I feel like we're all connected. I feel like the universe, I'm not sure about the active will of the universe, but I just feel like we're all connected, and there's definitely an energy out there that is akin to divinity for sure. I try to personally like meditate and take time to be with myself and be with earth and be with family and be with just people who enrich my spirit. But as far as like religion specifically, that's not something that I get into. I don't shame anyone who, you know, chooses to practice any religion. I think that that is great to dedicate your life to something like that. That's, you know, not like actually violently slaughtering people. Unfortunately, though, I do feel like a lot of the way we were brought into religion comes from violent, terrible capitalist things. And, you know, it's difficult to wrestle with that because it's also like everything some people believe in. So that's definitely, I really do like that question though, because I came up in it, you know what I'm saying? I know what it's like, but just for me personally, it felt like going through the motions a little bit. It felt like an activity I had to go do on Sunday and sometimes on Wednesday, and, you know, but again, I don't want to like say that like I don't have respect for people who believe whatever. Just me specifically, I'm not into specifically, I'll say Christianity, because I haven't really explored a lot of other religions. That's not to say that I couldn't, you know, get into something else, but right now I wouldn't say that I'm specifically religious.
So then with that, what is your definition of God?
God, so my definition of God lately, it's been shaped, unfortunately, by loss and death. But like when MF Doom passed a little while ago, it was wild because they said he passed on Halloween, but they didn't release the news until like December or something. And I'm just, I think about that. That's crazy, but it's interesting because when you don't get the news like as it's happening or whatever, you maybe don't feel that energetic release that you would normally, like, oh my God, like the flattening out of losing that person. And especially because it's not like someone I even personally know. It's just a person I look up to. MF Doom also, huge influence. That's what's going to happen is I'm going to remember the influence as I'm talking, and I'm going to go back to that question. So thank you for that. But when MF Doom passed, I think one of his family members said something like, thank you to the all. And I don't know what spiritual practice that comes from, specifically calling God or the universe the all, but I like that. I like the all because, we think of spirit. I think we a lot of times think of spirituality in the context of like living beings. Lately I've been just trying to like literally wrap my mind around God developing the entire material reality that I'm in, including inanimate objects and molecules of things that I need to breathe, and sunshine and space and the vacuum and everything that's scary about things that we can't touch. But just like, and even in like inanimate objects, like I'm not thinking like someone did a presto changeo magic spell to make this shelf appear. A man or a woman or a person who doesn't identify with those genders built that shelf and took time to do that, and they were paid, and the money that they were paid fed their family, and their family expelled the waste of the food, and it went back into the soil, and the soil grew whatever. Or not in the soil. I don't know where shit goes in the septic system. I'm just talking right now. I'm trying to sound deep and cool. Sorry, guys.
But like you're not wrong, and it's also not deep at the same time. Yeah, it turned into shit, and then it like all kind of cycles again. Anyways,
exactly. Yeah, like matter can't be created or destroyed according to science, and I'm with the science wave personally. So like that's kind of how I look at our spiritual essence. I don't know if it like goes to what some might call like the astral plane, or, I have some friends who are into stuff like that, but like, yeah, damn, I'm losing. What was the?
No, I mean, just what is God to you?
What is God to me? Yeah, the all is what I would say. I like the all as a concept, like even my ability to form words right now.
Yeah. What is free will?
Free will, I think free will is the ability to perceive your circumstances and make decisions based on those circumstances. I don't believe that we're as in control of the circumstances that we're born into, but I do believe that with the agency that we have been given magically by this crazy realm that allows me to have fingers, we do have the ability to take action once we understand what our place is within the world, kind of. So free will, I would say generally, is just like that actual ability to like perceive your circumstances and then make decisions based on what those circumstances have given you. That's how I would describe free will personally.
Sweet. That's like one of the like most well wrapped up answers to that question I've heard so far.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I just thought of it on the spot too.
Yeah. What do you think happens when we die?
Man. Well, for sure our heart stops and we piss ourselves and our body gets all like very rigid. I don't know, man. I really don't know. And that's like one thing that kind of confuses me about people is our fixation with that. I mean, it makes sense logically because we lose people and we miss them and we would like to know where they went. But, and this is just like a young perspective me answer. I can see older me looking back and thinking I'm just silly, but like I'm very focused on appreciating and enjoying every moment that I'm living in, just in case like this is it. Because if this is it, I don't have interest in. Most Def said this in like a podcast with Talib Kweli lately. He was like, the God I serve doesn't have interest in my misery. And he also said, I don't even have interest in my own misery. So I like to think that, I like to say that I definitely am not jacking like the concept of hell. Like I'm not into that. I don't believe in that personally. But just in general, like, I'm not sure where we go. Some people have a lot of theories where we go. People have talked about it and written books about it. I haven't even really dove deep into that because I'm really, really focused on trying to like appreciate every moment that I have in my life. So I don't want to like not answer your question by being like, oh, I don't know. Excuse me. We go to like, we go to a little small pyramid of reflected light that's like outside of what we would consider the universe. And I said cube shaped, but it's like multi-geometric and constantly moving. And it's just
a tesseract.
It's basically a tesseract, and it's just like light energy, and then like the Big Bang will recycle, and then we'll like completely forget our existence and then come back as a different living being or not. But
cool.
That's what I'm gonna say for everybody wanting a direct answer. Austin gave it to you.
There you go. Or, I don't know is also a valid answer.
Yeah, I want to be very clear. I don't know. I am not the person with answers. If you happen to stumble upon this podcast in some sort of like, in any situation, but I was going to say in some sort of like post-apocalyptic future dig up of like, how do we find the answers that they had? This is not the answers that we had for civilization. I do not know.
Besides everything that was going on in this civilization that led to the apocalypse, we weren't going to have the answer.
Exactly. Yeah. Come on. You think we got the answers? We caused this. Come on. Man. Well, I won't say we caused this. We were given circumstances.
Yeah, we're kind of just victims in this whole thing.
A little bit victims of this. Why did our parents have us? I'm sorry.
How do you determine what good behavior is?
I think in the most broad sense, good behavior is just like not harming others or creating situations that cause harm. I think that's the best way I want to put it, because I think, the idea of like crime and even like, religious morality gets into areas where we're isolating people and persecuting them and telling them that they're not who they are and all this other shit that's, that's just like a very obvious grab for control for people who are insecure themselves about their own existence, just like we all are. That's kind of why I like the God questions, because like, aren't we all just so terrified that we're like sentient and alive and breathing and shit? Like, that's so crazy to even imagine that we could imagine. But yeah, I would just say good behavior is just not causing harm, because like crime and stuff like that, like theft, I'm not into possession in any form. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not to say that I don't have things that I care about and that I'm trying to develop, but just like this idea with possessing things and holding on to things causes us to do a lot of bad things, and just as a result of insecurity and a lot of other stuff. But yeah, in general, just like not causing harm and not creating situations that cause harm.
Yeah. And that's just a great way to sum that up. How do we reduce the division between people?
How do we reduce the division between people? You know what? I'm going to actually reject the premise of your question.
Cool.
I'm going to say that reducing the division, reducing the division is a thing to cause another thing, right? Like if we reduce the division, that's closer to peace on earth, sure. Allegedly, right? I think that one thing we all should remember as people, as much as we crave connection with others, we also like have things that other people like can't deal with or can't tolerate, or, you know, for their own sanity or safety or whatever reason. And I don't think that all forms of division are unnatural. And I think that, you know, obviously, like when we talk about division, a lot of times the context is racial and it's like based in segregation and stuff. But I'm like, okay, well, if we're going to talk about that, like, why are black people even on this continent? Why, like, who divided us? Who drew the districts? Who gerrymandered? All this other stuff. Like, you know, division as an idea of like something we need to like solve and go against. Like, yes, but like, I think the answer comes from the root. Like, there are people who created division and they set up these systems, and these systems still go on, and these systems govern everything that we do. And so as long as they govern everything we do, the principles, the underlying core values of that are prevalent. Like, so, but yeah, just on that, I would say like, so my actual answer to that question is stopping the division, just like destroy the hierarchies.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to not say that too many times into a mic because I do want to get a little bit of money.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, but also
destroy the hierarchies.
Right. You didn't hear it from me, but you know.
Yeah. You didn't hear it from either of us. That was the disembodied voice of Spider-Man, right, who's a real life Marvel superhero.
Something in this room said, eat the rich.
I have to say real quick into a podcast mic, just because I thought this was funny, and this might like fuck shit up in the future if I'm ever like really important. But like, there's this Instagram video of Diddy by his pool eating mangoes and like overlooking the ocean. First off, he has like a huge pool, but like next to the ocean, so it's so ridiculous. And then he's like eating mangoes and like he's like obviously kind of drunk, and he's like just eating. He's like, man, you could be eating mangoes too in front of the ocean, man. Like, I'm not no different than you. I just wanted it bad. And I'm like, the rich looking pretty delicious. Yeah. They over here eating mangoes. They getting baked in the sun. They boiling in the water. Like, I don't know. I just feel like Diddy's ribs might be delicious.
I mean, yeah, and you know, all those years of like really like ingrained misogyny that it could be pretty tasty.
Could be pretty tasty. He's gonna be like a nice roided out steak.
Anyways, do you believe humans are evil by nature?
I think the word evil comes, I don't know that this is fact. I'm not a philosopher or a scholar, so don't take anything I'm saying as fact. But I think the word evil is misogynistic. I think evil comes from Adam and Eve in the Bible, and Eve made us do the original sin. No, but like, as far as like evil as we understand it as a word now, I mean, I think humans really are just like mostly trying to survive, even when they're doing bad stuff. And if they're not, it's usually due to some other thing going on. I don't know, like even being good, you're good because you were inspired to be good because you felt like that was the survival tactic that would help you. I feel like, you know, at a very core base animal level, that's what I think it is. So, I mean, maybe people are inherently evil because we have that capacity to like go there if we need to. But I just think most things are motivated by a situation.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think humanity is heading towards in the future? As we just mentioned, the P. Diddy looking tasty.
Yeah. I mean, I would like if we get to like a eat the rich moment. I'm just like, I'm also aware of how much privilege I have in the context of the entire planet. And, you know, I eat pretty much every day and I sleep under a roof and I was able to drive here today. So like to some people, I look just as delicious as Diddy, I'm sure. So like, but that would be cool if we could like get the shackles of capitalism off of us. Don't know if that will happen because maybe this answers my last question. I don't know if I think people are evil, but I don't trust people. Sure. I just don't. And, you know, that probably has more to do with me internally and my own stuff. But like, yeah, I don't necessarily trust humanity to always make the right decisions for stuff. And I think there's some there's some pretty huge examples of how we can fuck things up that are pretty easy to not fuck up. Even from like because the government thing is like a big mascot thing. So all you have to do is just make sure that the mascot is palatable, and you decide to not make the mascot palatable, then, well, we don't care if anything's palatable now. Yeah. So that's what I think is coming. Just like more radicalization of every single tiny thing, probably, most likely, just because like access is only going to expand. And when access expands, we're going to, you know, we're already cyborgs, like you said, like, yeah. I need this to get around. Yeah. So just more cyborg stuff. I personally, for an optimistic future, I'd love if we could have an eat the rich moment, but not very trusting of us all to do it. Hopefully that motivates y'all. But no. But yeah, a cool eat the rich moment would be cool. So that's what I'm going to say for optimistic.
That actually is my next question is, what are you optimistic about for our future?
So I'm going to go back to being personal and selfish for a moment. I'm optimistic because I think I'm going to get pretty good at making music. Yeah. I think I'm decent now. I think I'm going to get pretty good if I keep going and I maintain my health and my passion for it. I think I'm going to get pretty good at making music. That's what I'm going to say. Yeah. What am I optimistic about for the future? I think like on some level socially, it does feel like we are progressing. Like as much as I'm so inclined to just not trust humanity and all of the sort of signaling that we do, I just feel like some things have gotten better. Some things have become a little bit easier. I'm so hesitant to say stuff like that because I'm an optimistic person personally, but I don't want the perception to be that I'm just like unaware that things are actually very terrible in a lot of ways. But like they're slightly less terrible than certain points in history. And I won't say all points in history because sometimes they reverse things. But yeah, I would just say like socially we are progressing a little bit. I'm personally gonna get better at making music. I'm gonna be better at a lot of aspects of the filmmaking thing too. I'm moving back into the selfish mode. I feel like I talk so much about like society and God and MF Doom.
Which, depending who you ask, same thing.
Real talk. Yo, that's the thing too. God, Society, MF Doom. One day, like, not too many days previous to now. See, I can't even talk anymore. Like a few days ago, I was like telling my dad, like, everything that happened in Revelations in the Bible, like, already happened. And like, we're just like, some of us are just like running around, like, looking for it. And I'm like, I can show you the dates.
Yeah.
It's like Hitler, this. But anyway, I forgot the original question now. I'm going off on too many tangents. I'm having too much fun. You're really good at this. I got to say, you've cultivated an environment where I feel comfortable, and I feel like just saying any little random thought that comes to me.
That's great. That's exactly what I want. We're here to understand you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
What makes you content?
Oh, man. Spending time with my friends makes me very content. Finishing a nice piece of music makes me very content. Legally smoking medical cannabis makes me very content. Yeah. Also, free everybody on the planet locked up for weed and any other non-violent drug offenses. Just want to say that to be very clear. What else makes you content? Just a personal sense of peace for a few moments makes me feel pretty content. Yeah. I would say in a lot of ways, I hope this doesn't sound sad. Like, in a lot of ways, I don't really feel content because I feel like there's things that I need to do, and there's just things that need to be done in general that, you know, are going to take a bit of action and motivation and things like that. And even beyond like the scope of my own lifetime, I'm like, so much should happen for other people who get to be here. But I don't know. I think there's a few things that make me content, and they keep me content enough to where I feel sane most of the time. So, and I would probably even rank it like that. Like, spending time with my friends makes me feel really, really content. I'm very grateful for the friends that I have right now. But yes, friends, music, some weed, mangoes actually, which is so funny. I was just talking about like the Diddy mangoes thing. I love mangoes. I love mango flavored anything. Like the mango Humex cans, like the little blue ones. The guava Humex. Oh, yeah. Look, man, we could have had a whole hour-long podcast about the guava Humex.
Fun fact, mangoes are the most eaten fruit in the world.
That's beautiful. I'm so glad that I learned that today, because mangoes are probably, I know that they're my little brother Tyler's favorite fruit. They're probably up there with me as well. Yeah. I love mangoes.
Kind of, you mentioned it a little bit, but the next question is, when will you be satisfied?
When will I be satisfied? I don't know if I'll ever be satisfied. I don't know, man. Like,
but that is a valid answer.
Yeah, that is kind of how I feel. But I don't want to make it sound like I'm just like not grateful and not like overall happy. Like, I am. I feel really good about my life. I have joy, you know. I think personally, from a career perspective, I would be satisfied when I make enough money doing the things that I do to live comfortably and help the community in ways that I would like. And I'm able to do a little bit of that now without making a living, but like, I would like to be able to do that where I'm comfortably able to make a living and support myself. Yeah. That's definitely one area of personal satisfaction. I'm thinking I'm going to be satisfied at the end of this Loki series. I just finished watching episode 5 with my homie Cole, and
no spoilers.
No spoilers, I promise. I just want to say that. No, I would never. That's not even in my character. But I just want to say it's made me feel really good, and I hope, and I actually think that I'm going to be satisfied with how it ends. But that, I'll say, for now, those will be my answers about when I'll be satisfied.
And then 2 more questions. What advice do you have for people in general?
Man, in general, I would say try to create situations in your life where you feel the most comfortable being honest with yourself and others. Honesty is beautiful, even when it's like tough, even when it's like kind of shitty. I prefer it in most situations. I think I prefer honesty. Yeah. What else? Just general advice. Yeah. Take CMOS, and I'm not going to explain anything else about that.
Cool. I don't know what that is, and so have fun Googling.
Yep, literally just take CMOS. Tell people you love them. Just do it. Who cares?
It's not that hard. It accomplishes a lot.
It accomplishes even if it doesn't feel like it accomplishes the most. Saying it, the English language is limited, in my opinion. I would say language in general is limited as a form of expression. For me personally, words are not the best way that I express myself. But, letting people know that you care about them in a deep way, even if you don't say I love you specifically, whatever way you say I love you, I think it's important to let people know that while we are still here in what we know as the material realm. So, what else, man?
I mean, those are great pieces of advice.
I think so too. And I also want to say, I'm not the guy to be giving advice. You don't look at my life and think that you should pattern yourself after me. There's a lot of things that I could do better, that I need to do better. So I'm not the person to, give you all the best advice. But if that helps you, those are just my general pieces of advice.
Sweet. Last question, potentially most importantly, cake or pie?
This is a very good question. I'm going to actually say pie. I would say over the course of my life, I've probably been more of a cake person. But I feel like as I get older, certain sweets I like less. And I would say more often than not, like cake frosting just be like really sweet sometimes. It's just a lot on your system. And that's not to say there's not sweet pies out there, but I like a pie with a good flaky crust. I like a nice apple pie. I like a nice peach cobbler. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And there's also like types of pies that are like not like just fruit sweet pies. There's meat pies. There's all types of stuff. Chicken pot pie. All types of stuff. Yeah. But yeah, I would definitely say pie over cake. That's a really good question. I would also agree that it's a pretty important question because it shows whether you have a childish palate or not.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And anyone who said cake to this, what's up? No, I'm playing. I'm not sure who I was guests on this podcast, but I'm going to just say that I don't want smoke with any of you. Except Griff. I want smoke with Griff because that's my buddy. Hi, Griff.
I should keep a tally of the cakes versus pies. Someone who is very devoted to this podcast, if you want to do that, I guess.
That would be really great if someone who is a passionate listener just like went back and gave us the official tally of cakes versus pies. And I hope that Santiago fully challenges you to do that. Because whoever you are, you're hearing this. You are a super fan. Don't act like you're not like the biggest Bit Depth fan in the city, on the planet. So that little part of your heart that's calling you to go back and make that tally, go ahead and do it. This is your calling right now.
Yeah. I'm fairly sure it leans on pie, but there's the occasional cake in there that my wife and I are like, I'm pie and she's cake, and so we like have this running joke.
I did not mean to at all disrespect your wife by saying that liking cake is childish. It's okay if you like cake. I'm just making silly little comments for this recording.
But true. Austin, thank you so much for doing this with me.
Thank you, bro. I really appreciate you having me. Like I don't get asked to do things like this. This is really fun. We got into some cool topics, and I hope that whoever got an opportunity to listen to this, like took something cool from it. And I'm grateful to share what I do with people.
Where can we find you and your things?
All right. So you can find me on Instagram at The Real Austin Powers. You can also find my company, Digital Cowboys, on Instagram, just at Digital Cowboys. Our website is temporarily down, but I'm working on that. So be on the lookout for digitalcowboys.net in a very short time. I have a few albums out on Bandcamp, Apple Music, Spotify, SoundCloud, all that under King Scott. And real quick too, I just want to say, I didn't mention this. I talked very briefly about my friend Brandon Ross. I just want to say real quick, he did a compilation album. Man, I can't remember when exactly it was, but it wasn't that long ago. Benefiting suicide prevention. And I got to put a beat on that project. And there was a lot of other really talented bands and musicians on that. And I just want to put a highlight on that because that's also available on Bandcamp. You can check that out. It's called Not Alone Okay. By the time that this has come out, I probably will have done this, but shout out to the press for having myself and DJ Zay. Okay, July 15th at the press patio from 9 to 11 p.m. Thank you for coming out to see the Digital Cowboys. We really appreciated the energy that night. It was really cool. And if it hasn't happened yet, please come out. But thank you for coming out. We really had a great time.
I like the, future past tense.
Yeah,
thing
that's what
going.
I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get into playing with time because we work in recorded mediums and things come out much after we've deliberated and worked on them. So why not talk in future tense?
Yeah. It already happened. It was great.
Yeah.
We're
great
manifesting
vibes.
it.
Yeah, we're manifesting it right now.
Once again, thank you so much for doing this with me. I'm Santiago Ramones.
Austin Scott, aka King Scott, the real Austin Powers.
You can find everything that I do on my website, SantiagoRamones.com. I make music and produce audio. I have an EP, a short album, that is streaming everywhere right now. It's called Soundbites. The music you're hearing right now is from Soundbites. Listen to it on Spotify, Apple Music, and anywhere else you stream music, or buy it on Bandcamp, because a single purchase is the monetary equivalent of streaming it all day, every day, for a year. I'm also working on another album, so if you'd like to hear that at some point, you can buy my music, or you can support me on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Santiago Ramones. Follow me on Instagram to stay up to date with all the stuff that I'm doing, both at bit.depth and at Santiago Ramones Music. There's also a Discord server in which we discuss deep topics from the podcast, but it's also a community of beautiful human beings. Go to SantiagoRamones.com/Discord to join. If you like the podcast, leave comments on social media, leave reviews by saying how much you like the podcast, and tell your friends about it. I really couldn't be doing this without you, and I am so very grateful to continue doing Bit Depth for this long. Thank you so much for listening to and supporting Bit Depth. I always end the podcast with my 3 things. They shape my life philosophy. Love never fails. It's going to be okay. I might be wrong.